Hello and welcome back into the Jefferson My Drinks podcast, the pod on a mission to normalise 18 fantasy leagues. Sorry, I am Pete McManus and I'm delighted to be joined by not only Ian Harrison, but also Alan Monk. Good day, lads.
Good day.
Good day.
I was pretty confident after all this time I was going to mess that up, and I did indeed mess that up. So there you go.
Great start. Start as we mean to go on.
Yes,
I
it has
completely
been.
forgot how loud the intro music is, by the way.
Yeah.
That was it. A shock to my ears.
What?
It's been
What?
It's,
Who said that?
it's been 65 days. I counted it. It's been 65 days since we last did a podcast. So, which I know. I mean, it was the end of the season. We needed a little bit of a break. I've been inundated with messages asking when we were going to do another episode, though. So it's just great.
You know what? It's really weird that you mentioned that because I've not had a single one.
No, never mind. It's a bit worrying, isn't it? It's like surely at some point someone's going to go, "You're not doing that podcast thing again." But even close mates, people that are WhatsApp, nobody's noticed that we haven't done one.
Oh well.
We are back.
I got a message from my mum and dad asking when is it coming back on. If that counts.
Yeah, all counts, mate. Every listener's a good listener.
Every listener helps.
We are, as we've been away for a couple of months, we are going to use this episode to just review basically what we've missed. So be great for those non-massive into the NFL, following it every day kind of listeners that we have. But I thought it'd be just a great opportunity for us to go back over some of the trades. So we'll do first half of the show. We're going to do trades and contract news, some really big contracts going down, especially in the last week. And then we'll move on to free agency, which is sort of quieting down a little bit after the busy week of last week. But it would be remiss of us to not quickly touch on the Super Bowl because we haven't chatted since then, which seems like a long time ago now. But that was very one-sided, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It's amazing what happens when the refs call a fair game.
I don't think they did.
Can you?
Can't myself. I mean, like you mentioned a minute ago about people that don't really get hyped up for this part of the season, and I'm probably one of them because by the end of last season, I could not wait for that season to be over. Couldn't wait for the season to be done, and I've not managed to get myself back up to it yet, and I think Chase and T signing their new deal, that's kind of dragging me back in. I'm getting more excited about it now. But watching all these other teams make deals while the Bengals are just completely mismanaging money, I was like, oh, God, here we go again. I don't want this new season to start. And now I'm like, yeah, all right, fair enough. Yeah, I'm dipping my toe back in the water now.
Did you have good Super Bowl nights? Did you at least enjoy your evenings? Because the game was terrible from a enjoyment, excitement point of view.
That might have been one of my favorite Super Bowls in recent history, to be fair. So I really enjoyed both the game and the evening.
Is that purely because me and Pete weren't with you for once?
Oh, yeah, maybe, yeah.
That's all down to that. What I did think was my view on the Super Bowl afterwards, and I sort of thought this, thinking back on it the next day, is before the game, the Chiefs were 1-point favourites with most of the bookies. And I wanted the Chiefs to win. I wasn't that bothered, but I wanted the Chiefs to win because no one had done 3 on the trot. And I quite like seeing things like that. It's no surprise that I'm a big Mahomes fan. But when you think back on it, I don't really know why the Chiefs were favourites, because in every element of that roster, aside from quarterback, the Eagles are better. They would just have more quality, and they just showed it. And like in every department, they're better on both lines. They've got better receivers, at least healthy receivers. They've got a better running back room. They were just better in every element of the game. So it wasn't really. I think it was a surprise how one-sided it was, but it wasn't really a shock that the Eagles won. I don't think.
The best thing you've said there, Pete, is that in every department. So therefore, you are fully on board with Dallas. Dallas got it. So I'm happy with that. No, do you know what? Like, I saw it as the Chiefs being favourite purely because they are the team that constantly finds a way, and it wouldn't have surprised me to see the Chiefs win. But overall, man, the Eagles were just amazing from start to finish. The defense was amazing. That Josh Sweat, I thought he was MVP myself. Was it 2.5 sacks and something like 4 or 5 pressures as well? Couple of tackles for loss. He was outstanding. The whole Eagles secondary was outstanding. They turned up and showed up really well. And to be honest, I think the Chiefs probably had one of their worst games of the season as well. You know, you look at Pat Mahomes statistically, he had his second worst career game in that Super Bowl. So yeah, there was a lot there, but take nothing away from the Eagles. They were amazing. It was a great watch. And if you, it was so I had my son watching it with me, who's 4. So Pete got sent the questions that I was being asked during the night, which was also a bit of a joy. So things like why they like leaning down, just daft questions all night. It's good fun though. I enjoyed it.
That's your fault letting a 4-year-old stay up till that time of the night. What kind of parenting is that?
He had chicken pox and he itched himself awake. So yeah, I brought him down with me.
Yeah. I mean, the only other thing I wanted to touch on was I thought the halftime show was terrible. One of the worst.
I agree. Couldn't agree more.
Awful.
It was just dreadful.
The only thing I will state though is if for him to go out on stage in front and play into 133 million people and call his biggest rival a paedophile, like that's you got to respect that kind of that kind of attitude. But no, it was bad. It was a bad one.
I feel like we've been going downhill every year on year for the last 4 or 5 years with Super Bowl halftime shows. They've got a big job to try and turn that tanker around and get it going in the right direction next year.
I'm not sure. I thought Usher last year was quality.
Yeah, but it was, well, I don't know.
I thought Usher was really good.
It's getting worse year on year, I think. But and it has been since the Rams one. Should we move on to the big news? The biggest news, Ian.
Daniel Jones?
No, not Daniel Jones. You've already touched on it. Do you want to go through the big contract signings for the last couple of weeks?
Yeah. Well, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, obviously, for the Bengals. 161 million for Jamar and 115 million for T, both over 4 years. Jamar is getting 112 million guaranteed. T is getting his first 2 years fully guaranteed, which is fine. It works out about 28.75 million a year for T, which is about $1.5 million more than he would have got playing on the franchise tag. So it's not that bad a deal, to be fair.
It is a bad deal, though. Although I'm gonna break you off there.
It's a bad deal because we done it a year ago for a lot less.
Yeah. And the same with Jamar Chase got paid, and if they had done it last year when they had the chance, he's getting 35 million a year, and he's probably happy with that.
Well, the reason we didn't get it done with Jamar last year is because we couldn't agree on how much we would guarantee from his contract. And then we've gone out this year and guaranteed pretty much, 70% of it. I'm like, we could have just done that last year. Just guarantee it all. Who cares?
I understand your issue with it, and I don't disagree. My only point on that was if you'd have done a 4-year deal for Jamar Chase last year for 35 million in a little over 18 months' time, you'd be in contract negotiations. So
no, because you put the 5th year tag on it. So you put the 5th year option on it because he was a first round receiver. So you've done this realistically the same deal that you're going to do this year. The only thing is you don't have that 5th year option.
Yeah, I just don't think that. I think that all that matters is, I mean, it's 5 million more, but the salary cap's just gone up by about another 40 million. So is it any worse than it would have been last year? It's like you've just got a great year out of him. You've tied him in for another 4 years. This is like my one big thing with this was, and I can't believe I'm going in and defending the Bengals as much as I'm about to, but all I've seen since last week was how much they're paying Burrow Chase and Higgins, and it won't work, and it can't work, and this and the other, and it's complete nonsense. And it's like if you take what you are yearly paying Burrow, Chase, Higgins, you're starting running back in Chase Brown, and you're starting tight end in Gesicki, it all works out 134 million a year. That's their average salaries. If you take the Eagles, who've just won the Super Bowl, and you take Hurts, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Saquon, and Goddard, that's 142 million a year. I don't see anybody saying that the Eagles can't possibly win the Super Bowl because they're paying too much to that offense. I mean, man for man, I think I'd slightly lean towards the Bengals 5 over those Eagles 5. If you pushed me, it's a close call, but I think Joe Burrow over Jalen Hurts pushes it towards the Bengals. So I don't understand why that just because they're paying all this money, I don't understand why they can't then be successful. It makes no sense.
Well, it's because the Eagles' defense isn't a mess. Ours absolutely is. And
I think the Eagles.
This is a year where we're needing to rebuild the defense.
But
the Eagles
are now in a position where we can't.
Really well. Like, and I mean, no disrespect to the Bengals here, but the Eagles draft really well. The Bengals don't. If you look at what the Bengals drafted in recent years, there's probably Chase Brown that's still on their rookie contract to me. There's only Chase Brown that you're really going, oh yeah, that's a good draft pick. Ian, you know the Bengals defense better than me, but I was high on Murphy coming out of Clemson. He's not done it. He may have to step up this year, depending on what happens with Trey. But you look at what the Eagles have done in terms of who is still on a rookie contract with them right now. They've got Nolan Smith, they've got Jalen Carter, they've got Cooper DeJean, Quinion Mitchell. Like they pick up big pieces that.
I don't disagree with that. That's a very good point. But I suppose my point was you can't expect the Bengals, if the Bengals as an organization work on the basis that we're probably going to pick some rubbish players in the draft, so we better not offer Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow as much money on contracts because we're going to end up paying someone else. It's just not going to work. You've got to work on the basis that most great teams are all built on the fact that you draft well. We all know that. Is if you nail a couple of drafts, that gives you the rookies to pay the experienced players well and build up a super team like the Eagles have done. So yes, the Bengals have got a hit on some draft picks, but you can't go into it thinking we're not going to do that, so therefore we better not pay our superstars the money that they deserve.
Oh yeah, no, I 100% agree with the fact that Bengals should have paid it. The difference between what you were saying there with the Eagles and the Bengals is the Eagles hit on their draft picks virtually all the time, and that's a massive difference.
Well, there's a big difference. There's a big difference when you have a general manager versus the Bengals who don't have a GM to make these decisions. They just leave those decisions up to the owner's family, which is absolutely criminal. Which is also why we didn't get these deals done earlier, because we've not got a general manager going, hang on, come on, let's get this sorted and let's get it established.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in getting the deals done as early as possible. Like it makes too much sense because the value in the players is never going to go down. It's always going up. Next year they're projecting that there's probably going to be over 300 million in cap space. So granted, the Bengals have done all right to get these deals done because there's probably 20-30 million in cap extra next year. If my maths is right off the top of my head, I can't remember what it is this year. But they do these deals 2 years, or T. Higgins 2 years ago, Jamar Chase last year. They're not in this situation where they're paying 3 players half of the cap or close to half of the cap. I just think I think if you got the deal done a couple of years ago, it makes more sense. You look at, Justin Jefferson, he took his hit, or he took his contract the year before, and he's now like the Vikings have got more cap because of the cap that has come into play this year, the extra cap. It just makes sense to get deals done, especially when you know they're going to be your future.
I mean, I said it to you guys, like in 2 years' time, it's going to look like a great deal because the market's only going to go upwards. It's like when we paid Joe Burrow, and I was like, you can't pay a quarterback $50 million a year. Then Dak got paid. Then Justin Herbert got paid. Now Brock Purdy wants $60 million. That Burrow deal is looking cheap now.
Yeah. I wouldn't go cheap. But I know I agree with your point. It's looking the more everybody else comes in and gets paid. Brock Purdy gets anywhere near what Joe Burrow is on, then he's going to look like a really good deal.
Yeah, if Purdy gets 60 million, Joe Burrow for 50 is going to look cheap.
So the Bengals are staying where they are, which I think is good for you, Ian. I think you do need to sort that defense out, but they've got 6 months, so that's fine. Just a couple of other big contracts in terms of people staying where they are. We don't need to focus on these too much. Josh Allen got a new deal. No surprise there. Might be a good idea to give him some better weapons, but he got a new contract. Stingley from the Texans has just been paid. Zach Bourne from the Eagles got paid. I think that's the big ones in terms of contracts or just contracts.
Miles Garrett.
Miles Garrett, Max Crosby.
Yes, I missed them too. Miles Garrett. Miles Garrett became the highest paid non-QB for about 12 minutes before
Yeah.
Jamar Chase. I did find that. I wonder how much was on the table for Jamar Chase last week or before the Miles Garrett deal, because just before the Miles Garrett deal, didn't your GM or I don't know, whoever's in charge of these things say that he's going to be the highest non-paid non-QB?
Yeah. And then the Browns paid Miles Garrett.
I was like, well, that's probably adding a couple of million. I'm wondering whether that's where the one of the 161 came from, just added on afterwards. But I know there's a big trade you want. Talking contracts, but I know there's a big trade you wanted to bring up, H, or couldn't wait to bring up. So do you want to lead with the biggest trade of the off-season so far?
The contract for Dan Jones.
No, we're not talking about Dan Jones.
Sorry, before you go on. Before you go on, because you just mentioned Stingley, and I wanted to ask H. You're giving him 90 million over 3 years.
Yeah.
Guaranteed 89 million of it.
Yeah.
Why not just guarantee the 90, mate?
I don't know. This deal actually makes so much sense on kind of what we were talking about, like literally a couple of minutes ago. So it's the LSU boys, and so with Stingley, the Texans have gone out and got their deal done before Sauce Gardner, before Trent McDuffie. Yes, it's an extension of 3 years, but we've got him for 5 years because he's got his 4th year of his rookie deal. We've then got his 5th year option because he was a first-round draft pick, and then extended him for 3 years. So he's actually, on average, it's about 22 million a year for, in my opinion, the second best cornerback in the NFL. And I know I'm biased, but we've gone out there ahead of the Jets, ahead of the Chiefs, and gone, this is what the top cornerback is going to get paid. Granted, going 5 million over JC Horn's deal, which was another big deal, which we've not mentioned, who stays with the Panthers at 25 million a year. But we've got ahead of everyone, so now it puts kind of pressure on Sauce and McDuffie to get their deals. But so I believe also
until they sign for 25 million a year, and then you look daft.
Well, we don't because we've got Derek Stingley was literally first team All Pro last year. Like, he deserves that contract in my eyes. I think he's, like I said, for me, there's only Pat Surtain that is better than Stingley. So he's worth it in my eyes.
I imagine that negotiation, Ian, when we'll give you 90, 60 of it guaranteed, and then his agent went 90 guaranteed, and they went 61, and he went 90, and he went 62, and it just carried on. We got to 89, and then we're like, all right, go on then.
Yeah. But while we're on guarantees, have you seen how much Max Crosby is guaranteed?
91.5.
91.5 million of 106.5. That's an insane number as well. That's like Browns level in guarantees.
And while we're talking about it, because you rightly bring up Miles Garrett, this happens all the time. We were laughing about it. Like, I want to go and win a ring. Here's 40 million a year. Okay, I don't need a ring.
I don't need a ring. Yeah.
I know that I'm going to win a ring with the Browns, so that's why I'll stay.
Buy a ring for that.
I can buy one.
Yeah.
So it does appear though that from his interviews after it that the Browns are potentially selecting a quarterback there.
The Browns are not.
Well, they're going to have to.
and they are not going to be able to compete in the 3-4 years that he's done that deal. He's completely signing it for money, and I'm not saying that's the wrong thing to do. He needs to do what's right for his family. And the thing is, there's a whole thing about chasing a ring where he could have gone to any one of the other 31 teams. I know for a fact that 30 of them aren't winning the Super Bowl next year. So just because he goes chasing a ring doesn't mean he's going to get one. So I don't necessarily disagree with it. I just disagree with the whole coming out going, I want to be able to compete, and then going, actually, I'll take the 40 million, which not only means I'm settling for the money, it means you're even less likely to compete because they're already in cap hell with Deshaun Watson. Anyway,
You go on to it then.
Yeah,
oh my word! What? Like honestly, I understand the Steelers needed another wide receiver, but to give up a second for him, and then to give him a contract 4 years for £132 million is a joke. He isn't that good. He's currently being paid the fourth highest per year of wide receivers. Not in a million years is he the fourth best wide receiver in the NFL. Not even close to it.
It's also the biggest contract in Steelers history.
Well, they were stupid for doing it. And the thing is, like, he is a good player, don't get me wrong, and they did need another wide receiver. But now there's talks of them getting rid of Pickens. It's like, what are you doing? Like, it doesn't make sense to me to give him that deal. It also doesn't make sense to me to give away a second rounder for him. I don't think he's that good.
I don't know. I've got to say,
he's a quality player, don't get me wrong, but I'm not giving up a second rounder for him. Not a chance.
I'd give up a second rounder, but I wouldn't pay him that amount.
Yeah, all right. I wouldn't do either, but that's just me. Like, I don't.
Second.
Maybe in Dynasty.
But there's also some pick swaps involved as well. The Steelers and the Seahawks are swapping picks in the 6th and the 7th rounds this year.
Yeah, nobody cares about that.
For what that matters.
I think a second rounder is about right for him. Like, he's not going to get a first rounder because of his age. If he is elite, might not be the right word, but he's a top 15 to 20 wide receiver in the league, and that that has value. Like, you only have to look down at some of the wide receivers that were drafted in the first round of the NFL draft last year and go, would you take them or would you take DK Metcalf? And I can assure you, you'd take DK Metcalf over at least half of them. Yeah. We're talking about Xavier, all players like that. Like, this is what you get with the end of the first round. So for a second rounder, I don't think that's bad. The money wise, I thought it was a bit steep. But again, that's what he was after. So if you're gonna bring someone in, you have to pay them.
You say that's what he was after, but he also stated he wanted to go somewhere where it's sunny all year round. He wanted a playoff or a ready-to-win team and a situation where his QB is fully understood. Yeah, that just screams Pittsburgh Steelers because they've got. Exactly. I just don't agree with it.
My take on it is I liked the move for the Steelers, but I don't like it if it's in Solus and that's all they do. And we're sat here and they're currently the only quarterback. Free agency's basically happened now, and the only quarterback they've got on their roster is Mason Rudolph. So it feels, I like it if they follow it up. If they've kind of gone into this offseason and gone, we can't continue the way we have been just going 9-8 or 10-7 and getting smashed in the wild card weekend. Like, we need to do something different. DK's available. I like it because I think it makes Pickens better because he's not an elite alpha wide receiver. And I think as their sort of second option or 1A, 1B kind of situation, I think he will be better. I like that. But the whole idea of being a receiver is that you are catching a ball, which means someone has to throw the ball, and they don't. It's almost as if they've gone, well, we've got two receivers, so we should be fine. It's like, no, you've got to sort the rest of it out. Like, as far as I'm aware, they've got no running back on their roster and they've got no quarterback on their roster, and it feels a bit like, What are you doing? And that could be the concern, is we could be looking back at this in 6 months' time and going, actually, what the Steelers did was they said, we didn't finish the season very well. We're in danger of not being able to go 9-8 next year. Let's get DK Metcalf. He'll push us over that hurdle. We'll get to 9 wins, as opposed to trying to push on and be better.
Well, when DK signed, Ben Roethlisberger released a joke video saying he might come out of retirement. And I'm not sure whether the Steelers thought he was being serious.
It's not a joke. He's got Big Ben in his back.
I just don't think anyone's told the Steelers that Big Ben was joking.
He couldn't move 5 years ago when he retired.
On the running back situation, I'm okay with that at the minute, because I reckon there's probably 20 running backs that may potentially get drafted this year. Like, the running back is stacked, but your QB situation has to be addressed. And they're waiting on Aaron Rodgers, and if they don't get Rodgers, they're going to go back to Russell Wilson. Like, we saw what Wilson was last year. Russell Wilson's a solid quarterback, don't get me wrong. He's not going to win you a Super Bowl anymore. Russell Wilson 5-10 years ago, yeah, not now. Like, we've seen that. We watched Aaron Rodgers last year really struggle, and granted, he's coming off an Achilles, and it naturally takes a little bit longer. But the situation there is absolutely awful, and the only thing you could do is potentially wait for next year, because there's a heck of a lot of quarterbacks coming out next year that are stellar. There's only probably one this year, but they're just not. It's all well and good getting DK Metcalf, getting the second wide receiver, but you need, like Pete said, you need someone to throw in the ball, and also you've given up a ridiculous amount of your cap on a receiver that's not a top 10 receiver in the NFL.
Well, here's the point. Like, so if the Steelers are planning on waiting for next year to pick up a quarterback, they have only offered Aaron Rodgers 1 year deal, whether it's a proven deal or not. But you offer Aaron Rodgers a 1 year deal with the intention of drafting your quarterback of the future next season. You've essentially just wasted 2 years of DK Metcalf's contract.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson feels like the sort of fantasy football debate I was having in 2016, and not really a debate that teams should be having now. It's done. Like, they're both done. We're at the end of they might fill a gap, but I've said this tons of times about the Steelers on this podcast. Stop trying to fill gaps and get to 9-8 and actually build a team that could win for the future. And you're right. If you wasted it, DK Metcalf's at that sort of age where you can't waste the next 2 years of his contract, because then he'll be 30, and it's like, right, at some point he's going to hit a cliff where he doesn't, he can't play anymore.
Yeah. And they've let Fields walk, and I am fully under the belief that they should have just kept Justin Fields. Even if you just kept him for another year, give him another year deal, and then pick up a quarterback, because Justin Fields can't be worse than Aaron Rodgers. And he can do more. He opens up the playbook for you. Aaron Rodgers is going to sit in the pocket, throw moon balls to wherever he wants to, and then blame the receivers. Justin Fields will actually try.
He might blame.
I actually like Fields at the Jets as well, just because he has that relationship with Garrett Wilson from previous.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have gone to the Jets, but it depends what he was, or who was there and who was available, because realistically, the only other moves is Geno Smith and Sam Darnold, and it just seems a bit weird that.
Just wrapping up the other trades. So I think the first trade to go through was Deebo Samuel to the Commanders. Do we like that?
I understand it.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, after last year, is there anything left in the tank? I don't know.
What's mad is that they've gone for Deebo Samuel when Cooper Kupp's available, and if you look at the two of them, Cooper Kupp is right now a better player than Deebo Samuel. They've gone with Deebo Samuel off the fact that he can give them something extra. I just don't see it. He had such a bad year last year. I know he was banged up a bit, but he wasn't. I think it's 21 million the deal that they've restructured his deal to give him 21 million. but I understand it for the Commanders. They've got a rookie QB. They've got loads of cap space. And if you get Deebo Samuel of 2029, which was his only 1,000-yard season,
2029.
2019, sorry.
I mean,
Just jump into
nobody wants the Deebo Samuel of 2029.
Deebo Samuel won't be doing much in 2029.
I mean, the Browns might give him 30 million a year in 2029. Who knows? But no one's doing that.
Right. Yeah, we've been doing this. Just one thing quickly. We've been doing this podcast a while. When I say just quickly, what do we think about this? I need like 10 or 15 seconds, not 2.5 minutes. If you give me 2.5 minutes on every player that's on this list, we are going to be here all night. No one's going to want to listen to this podcast. It's just going to go on forever. Just, I like that one. Oh, I don't like it.
There's some of the other ones where I'm going to go, yeah.
I'll let you on your DK Metcalf rant. Just give me 1 or 2 words on the rest of them.
The Deebo trade was quite a large trade, but go on.
Cup to the Seahawks wasn't a trade, was it? I thought it was free agency.
Yeah, it was.
He got cut, yeah.
Yeah, he got cut.
I like that. I like Cup. The Cup feels like he fits with the Seahawks.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just going to slot into where DK Metcalf left.
Yeah, I really like that one. Geno Smith to the Raiders was a bit of a surprise. Not a massive surprise with the coaching staff and all that sort of stuff, but that was a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, so I kind of like what the Seahawks have done, because Darnold, they picked up Sam Darnold, 3-year, $110 million deal. It's a younger QB. I think Sam Darnold's better than Geno Smith.
It's not just the younger QB. There's also, so they traded DK, they get Cooper Kupp in, and they get a 3rd rounder, a 2nd rounder, a 3rd rounder, and $40 million in cap space.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks have done really well in free agency.
We'll get onto Sam Darnold, but yeah, I hope it really works out for him because for some reason I want it to, but I don't. It would worry me that the Vikings didn't think that he was good enough to keep. I know they've got JJ McCarthy.
I think the JJ McCarthy thing plays into
that. Right, before we move on to free agency then, is there anyone else, contract or trade-wise, that you wanted to bring up or talk about?
There is one we didn't mention, Chris Godwin. 66 million for 3 years. Staying at the Bucs.
The Bucs feel a bit like they're just running it back every single year.
Yeah.
They're just going to keep running it back until they're all about 45, and then they go, yeah, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I do like that deal. I like them. I like them keeping Godwin.
Apparently,
all my stocks in Jalen McMillan have gone down.
Yeah. No, I like McMillan. I think it's another one of those situations, a bit like Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think McMillan's got more of a chance there's less pressure on him with Godwin and Evans there, and if he's good enough, he'll show through and he'll be playing. And Godwin and Evans are not playing. The pair of them are not playing 17 games next year. So
no, McMillan stepped up last year. When Godwin was injured, McMillan really stepped up.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, it's just that was the one that stood out for me that we missed.
Are we running the logo, or should we just crack on with free agency?
Just crack on.
Okay. Do you want to start with Sam Darnold? Seems like a good place to start. You've already touched on it.
Yeah, can do. Yeah, I've already mentioned $110 million deal, $55 million guaranteed. I think the Vikings would rather. They must like what they see in JJ McCarthy. Like his attitude must be great. Learning from the sidelines, red shirt because of his injury. I just think they didn't want to pay Sam Darnold when they've drafted a 1st-round rookie.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a comment on Sam Darnold being poor or not as good as he thought. I think he's a perfectly good quarterback, and he proved that last year by taking him to the playoffs. He imploded in the playoffs, but everyone has a bad game. I think they'd rather trust the rookie that they drafted last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. My only concern is I really like Kevin O'Connell, and I think, he made Kirk Cousins a great quarterback for 5 years or more. He did a really good job with Sam Darnold last year. I've got absolutely no doubt he'll do a good job with JJ McCarthy if he's healthy. My concern would be that if he's looked at him and gone, I think we're better off moving on, or he's not worth giving franchise tagging or giving another year to or whatever. If he doesn't see it, I would be concerned from a Seahawks point of view. But I hope I'm wrong, because I would like him to. He's one of those players who got drafted by the wrong team, I think, and then he's never really been given a chance.
Could the Sam Darnold thing not be that, like, him sort of saying, "Listen, I've proved myself this year. I know you've got your guy," and Kevin O'Connell going, "You know what? Yeah, go out there, see what you've got. If you don't find anything, you've got a home with us, though." I know there's been nothing like publicly said about it, but it seems like if you have a season that Sam Darnold has had, it wouldn't seem fair to keep him on your roster when he could go and get the 3-year, £100 million deal that he's got. Like, it makes a lot of sense to let him go and explore free agency.
Yeah. Do you know
they could have done. I think they've done right by him, because they could have tagged him and then tried to trade him.
Exactly.
I think they've done the right thing for him by saying, "Look, we're not going to tag you, so you can go wherever you want." And it might have been a case like the door's always open and we'll see what we can afford, things like that.
Yeah.
Do you know it reminds me of, though? It would worry me that it reminds me of Case Keenum. He had one good year for the Vikings and got a really good contract, and that was the end of Case Keenum. So, just a concern. Other quarterbacks in terms of free agency, we talked about Justin Fields. So Justin Fields ended up at the Jets. I like that move for the Jets. I like that move for Justin Fields. I think he's got a chance there. I think the Jets have proved that they are a complete mess year after year after year. So what will be, but I think that at least he's got a chance. I think he did enough at the Steelers. You touched on it earlier, Ian. He did enough on the Steelers last year to kind of deserve another shot at being a starting quarterback somewhere else. And we've seen it with Sam Darnold being a prime example, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff. Sometimes you just need to change the scenery or the right fit, and it can work.
Yeah, I think with Fields going to the Jets, one person that's going to benefit from this, and you're going to love this, Pete, is Breece Hall.
Hopefully.
Breece Hall's going to benefit massively from that.
Depends whether they start running the ball. But yeah, I agree.
I think Garrett Wilson will as well. Their offense was hard to watch at times last year. And when I say at times, I mean every time they had the ball. At times, every time. And we know a few Jets fans and fans of the show and things, and they were desperate to get Rodgers out of there. So that tells you you need to know. At least they've got the opportunity to go into next year with a bit of hope. Is there any other quarterbacks you want to bring up?
Dan Jones.
Go on, Pete.
Come on.
You be one at the Colts.
I have an announcement to make.
I'm not a Colts fan anymore.
I am taking a sabbatical from the.
He's frozen. He's saying it.
He's back. He's
back. He's back.
My announcement is that I am taking a sabbatical from the Colts in 2025. I am picking a new team to follow for this season alone. I don't care how that makes me sound, or what anybody thinks of that. I am not putting myself through this for this year.
Are these real words? Like, this is.
I love those.
This is a full-on This is. I've been waiting for this pod to bring this up.
Magnificent.
I've started narrowing down the 32 teams. I've got it down to about 7, and
come on, let's have it.
And that's it. I mean, the Colts. Just to be clear, the Colts will always be in my heart. I will be back in a year's time, and if we go 4-1, I will be back a lot sooner than that. So I reserve the right to jump back in. However, in the meantime, I've decided to just take a step back and just follow the journey of a different team, because
can we have a minute now and try and guess the 7 that are on your list?
I can tell you how I can give you the 7 and tell you how I got there if you want.
I know for a fact the Chiefs are going to be on there.
Yeah.
No, they're not. So this is how I got there. These are my rules. Number 1, no AFC North team. Don't want anything to do with that division.
What?
Number,
That's where all the fun is.
number
The Browns.
Number two, I obviously can't go with another AFC South team, so that's 8
fair.
teams out of the question to start with. Number three, I'm not jumping onto the bandwagon of any of my mates' teams. So, I mean, obviously, I've already counted out your two, but that gets rid of the Dolphins, the Packers, Vikings, Commanders, 49ers, Rams, Cowboys. I'm not glory chasing. So there's no Bills, there's no Chiefs, and no Eagles.
Okay.
I've got a rule that's no Raiders, Pats, or Saints because
why?
Yeah, the Pats is pretty obvious. I don't want to be
Yeah.
that Raiders thing. And the Saints one, I'll be honest, our next door neighbour used to support or does support the Saints, and he's a prick. So it's like, that's that one. I've got a rule that says been there before, and that's just got the Jets and the Cardinals in it because I feel like I've been all in on that. I can't go down that road again. And then my final one is colour based because you two both know that as soon as I decide which team this is, I'm going to go and buy a hoodie. So I've counted out the Panthers and Giants on the basis that their colours are boring. So
I had the Panthers. I well thought you were going to be on the Bryce train because you look like a very small quarterback.
This is all set up. He's got family in Denver as well. He's set up for the Broncos.
Well, this leaves me with 7 teams.
Chargers, Rams.
No, Rams.
You can't go Rams. Your brother supports.
Yeah, Rams are out.
So the 7 teams on my shortlist are the Broncos, which obviously makes sense. It's my wife's team, got family there, so I might just go in on the Broncos. The Chargers, the Lions, the Bears, the Bucks, the Falcons, and the Seahawks.
You can't go Bears. You cannot go Bears.
No, I don't.
Ian will disown you from the pod.
You cannot go to the Bears. And so, Lions is kind of glory hunting.
Yeah, well, that I've written that down. Does that count as glory chasing? I didn't know because they didn't make the final 4 or any of that sort of stuff. I didn't know whether it did, but I'm more than happy for you two to tell me that does. In which case,
when you talk about colours, their blackout kit is phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Like if I had to buy any jersey that isn't a Bengals jersey, it'd be the Lions blackout kit.
Yeah, well, this was it. I was kind of like, feels a bit glory chasing, but that's a really nice shirt jersey. So
just think when you drafted Mo Gibbs for in the first round this year, you'll be all in on it.
But I'll give it a bit more thought, and then I'll update you on the next pod as to where I'm up to.
I hope it's the Chargers because I have a soft spot for the Chargers myself.
Yeah.
But if anyone hasn't worked out, if we didn't really get into it, but if anyone hasn't worked out why, and you don't know what's going on with the Colts, we signed Daniel Jones to back up or compete with the job.
No, he is QB1.
And I don't have a problem, and I said this a few months ago, I don't have a problem with sticking with Richardson. I think you've got to give him a 3rd year. You should have drafted him with the whole idea of giving him 3 years. And I don't have a problem with bringing somebody else in if it doesn't work out. I just didn't think that person was going to be Daniel Jones. So I wanted Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is more similar player to what Anthony Richardson is. You build the same offense, you run the same offense, and if one of them shines through, then great. But I read some stat that Anthony Richardson was won't come as any surprise, the most inaccurate quarterback in the league last year. And the second most inaccurate quarterback in the league was Daniel Jones. So I was like, brilliant.
So you say that Fields is alike to Anthony Richardson, but in actual fact, Daniel Jones is just copy and paste.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. I'm not. I don't know. But we'll see.
Richardson was always a project, and I don't like that they've gone away from him. Whether it is him or Dan Jones. Granted, I don't agree with what he did last year. I like tapping out of the game. But Richardson showed ability at points. He also showed some absolute horrendous stuff. But he was always a project quarterback when you drafted him. You drafted him because he scored really well on his athleticism at the combine. It wasn't, if you watched him for Florida. He was always inaccurate. He always got banged up, but he had that wow factor at the same time as well, which I think Ian said it last year. He can make the throws that nobody else can make, but he can't make the throws that everyone else can make. Like, he's one of them. It's just a bit.
Yeah. I mean, if you
But-
spend 90% of your time bombing it downfield, you are going to come out with some amazing throws. The issue is you're also going to miss a ton of them.
Yeah.
But
it's
then
that
if that
you can't throw it 15 yards.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. You can't throw it short.
Yeah. Which blows my mind as somebody who doesn't play the sport. I can't it just it confuses me as to how you can't do that.
Well, yeah, because I can definitely throw it 15 yards. I probably can't throw it further, but
no.
like I could be like the opposite of Anthony Richardson. Can't run and can throw it 15 yards.
To me, this is like football. Like, and every footballer should be of a half decent level should be able to complete a 10-yard pass. And I wouldn't question them if they couldn't complete a 50-yard pass to feet, but you should be able to do a 10-yard pass. But don't understand why you can't do the simple bits. Anyway, that's enough about the Colts and where I'm going next. The rest of free agency is just a bit all over the place. Devontae Adams to the Rams, I liked. Thought it was a good deal for everybody involved. It was quite nice to see Devontae Adams just not following Aaron Rodgers around and going and doing his own thing.
Well, where would he follow him to? The job centre, because he's not got a team. But like, I think it's a good move for Devontae Adams. It's a good move for the Rams. It's a lot of money for a 32-year-old.
Yeah,
it is. But when you've got Cooper Kupp on there that you have to get rid of because he was even more, like, it makes a lot of sense.
And
he's a really cool compliment.
Like,
well,
Devontae Adams is older than Cooper Kupp. It was a bit like felt like you were getting rid of Kupp to go try and get younger, and then you walk back on that and went and got Devontae Adams. But
there is also, just with that though, and it's kind of a point that I made on Debo. Cooper Kupp's only had 2 1,000-yard seasons. Devontae Adams has had 1,000-yard seasons throughout his career, and I think because Cooper Kupp, there was a stat that somebody put out that as the last 4 seasons since Cooper Kupp did the Triple Crown, his separation from DBs has dramatically decreased. Whereas I think because they've now got Nakua who can do those intermediate routes and do all the sort of sweeps and everything like that, they needed a guy underneath. And I mean, there probably isn't one of the, in terms of being an outstanding receiver, Devontae Adams is definitely up there. So it made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, other than last year, Devontae Adams has never been out of the top 10 in receivers in terms of stats. He had a bad year last year, obviously, because the Jets had a bad year. But
he finished strong,
and he sat. Yeah, he did finish strong, but he sat out 4 or 5 weeks. Then he trying to get a move from the Raiders.
Yeah,
with a hamstring injury. Yeah, good one, mate.
Suddenly went away.
Yeah,
on the flight to New York.
He's sleeping on Aaron Rodgers' couch is magic.
Yeah. Right. The only other one I really wanted to bring up, because I really like this move, is Evan Ingram to the Broncos.
Which is why you're going to be a Broncos fan.
Yeah, possibly. The Broncos thing, going back to that, I already have a Broncos hoodie from when I was over there, so that would save me about 70 quid as well. So it's not as exciting as getting my new Fanatics gear, though. I really like Evan Ingram to the Broncos. I was surprised the Jags let that happen.
Surprised the Jags caught him. Made no sense.
No.
Got to pay Trevor Lawrence.
The moving to the Broncos makes it made sense for the Broncos, and they needed a couple of extra weapons. They can't just keep relying on Cortland Sutton. So yeah, I like it. I think he'll do really well there as well, and I think Knicks will like him quite a bit.
Yeah. Ian?
Yeah.
Anyone?
Well, we're going to talk about my fantasy darling from last year, Nick Westbrook-Akine. Gone to the Dolphins, 2-year deal for $6.5 million.
$6.5 million total, or $6.5 million a year?
Total. No, $6.5 million over 2 years, with 3.2 guaranteed.
Total.
To be fair, the Dolphins
he was
needed
a
some more
touchdown
speed.
machine last year.
They needed some more speed. They needed more deep threats because Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, not Jalen Wright. What's
Raheem
rookie
Mostert. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Jalen Wright.
no, Mostert's gone now.
Mostert's gone, but yeah,
Jalen Wright. Yeah.
it's Jalen Wright.
They need 3 or 4 deep threats so Tua can check it down to Achane.
So John Smith can collect another few 100-yard games. I like that move. He's going to be the wide receiver 3 there easily, but he's a fairly reliable guy, and he has got that big play ability, which we saw last year in a very, very bad Titans side.
Talking about the Dolphins, one of my favourite moments of the off-season so far in its infancy, it was the Tyreek Hill interview where he's like, no, I want to stay with the Dolphins. All the guys in the locker room know that I'm committed. And everything else. I was like, you literally threw your toys out of the pram publicly and said you wanted to leave. How do they all know that you want to stay on the basis that you went, I want out? Like, what's wrong with you? It's like his agents had a word with him and gone, no, don't say that. Track it back. So that did make me laugh.
Yeah.
The talking running backs, there's not a lot going on running back wise. I did like Jordan Mason to the Vikings. I think that's a good move. I don't think Aaron Jones has got a hell of a lot left in the tank, and if he has, you need to rest him and rotate him with somebody else. And I thought Jordan Mason did a really good job last year. I don't know what year the Cowboys think it is.
Oh my God, it might be the worst running back room. I mean, other than the Steelers, who've got no one, the Cowboys might be worse.
Yeah, they didn't just sign one. They went with Javonte Williams, who, other than one game last year, which was against the Saints, so it doesn't really count, I think did absolutely nothing. And then they've teamed him up with Miles Sanders in what is, possibly the worst 1-2 punch I think the running back the world has ever seen.
The thing is, like, remember the other year when they drafted Juice Vaughn, and everyone's like, oh, he's only small, but he's rapid and he's great. How bad does Juice Vaughn have to be to watch these two come in and play over him?
The funny thing is, I think both Dak and Lamb they've not taken pay cuts, but they've reworked their contract. And if you're CD Lamb and you reworked your contract so they can bring in Miles and Javonte Williams, you got to be looking at that going,
give me my money back.
I've reworked my contract and we're going to be doing even more work because we're going to be playing from behind a lot. So
they were both $2-3 million deals though. Like it's not big money.
No, I know, but
it's a tragic organisation at the minute.
Isn't it? We're 6 months away from the start of the season, and I already know how the Cowboys' first quarter is going to go. They're going to go 3 and out, be 10 points down, and then Dak's going to have to start throwing it to CeeDee Lamb over and over again. So I'm going to wait till they're 10 points down and then come out throwing it all the time, and then they're not going to learn from that, and they're going to do that the next week because Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, the Panthers have paid they've drafted a running back and then paid another running back since they decided they didn't want Miles Sanders, and then the Cowboys have gone, yeah, we want him.
Yeah, we'll have him.
Talking of running backs, though, I do like the Chargers bringing in Najee Harris. He's my early. I'm planting a flag in. I think he will have a big say in fantasy next year. Najee Harris. I think he's going to have a big season. I like it.
Where do you stand on the Chargers also bringing Mike Williams back?
Love it.
What's the point? Really?
Absolutely irrelevant.
Unless the physio really, really got on with Mike Williams and was like, I miss him. I miss having that regular chats with Mike in the physio room. What's the point? What in the treatment room? Mike Williams is not going to be a thing anymore. Injuries are caught with him. I can't see that.
No, I don't see it. I mean, it's nice. I do like Mike Williams as a player. It's nice for him to go back there. I just don't think he's going to do much. But it's only for $3 million. You'll have a gamble on it.
Yeah. And then I'm just looking down the list we did beforehand. Hopkins to the Ravens. He's another one where I'm like, there's a few aging wide receivers that's still knocking about where you kind of like, I think it might be over, mate. Just let it go.
Yeah.
You're done. You've had a good career.
Although the Ravens is where wide receivers go to die.
Yeah.
Like they're always picking up old wide receivers and going, oh, yeah, it's all right. Like OBJ, not a chance, mate. D-Hop, no way.
No, Hopkins feels a bit like he's chasing a ring now. He's like, he tried the Chiefs, that didn't work. He's going to try the Ravens this year, and he'll probably push one more year and sign for the Bills next year.
Bills, yeah.
It feels a bit like, come on, just hang up your cleats. It's done, mate.
Mm.
Anything else?
Just on the Bills, I like the move for Joey Bosa, but they got rid of Von Miller. They added Joey Bosa for $15 million, $12 million guaranteed, 1-year deal. It's a good deal. I think they needed it. The other one, and I know Ian's going to hate this, but I do like what the Bears did in terms of getting an offensive line in. Jackson from the Chargers, Thornley from the Chiefs, and Dalman from the Falcons. They improved what was a bad O-line last year, but I think obviously there's a lot of work that needs to be done there, and it was similar to how I was with the Panthers last year with Dave Canales going there. I think the best move that the Bears could have done was get the best offensive mind available to go and be the head coach, and I think Ben Johnson is that. Whether he is a head coach remains to be seen, but he's rejected jobs for it, and then he's landed there for a reason. So it'll be interesting to see how that one works out. There's a few. I know I've gone to that and then going off topic now, but there's a few wide receivers still that are, like veteran wide receivers that are still out there. Because you look at like Keenan Allen, left the Bears and he's still not been picked up. That surprises me a little bit. Yeah. I know Stephon Diggs had a meeting today with the Patriots, and he was doing a physical there. There was another one that I can't.
They've got desperate now, aren't
they? They have. But they're also in a position where, because they're drafting 4, they could, in all honesty, they could take Travis Hunter, who's going to be a wide receiver and a cornerback. You could do enough with him, and I've said this about Travis
and
Hunter.
Just run him to the ground.
No. So this is the thing.
You are playing every snap, mate.
I don't think you can do that in the NFL. If you look at some of his games for Colorado, especially towards the end of the games, he struggles. I think if you're gonna have Travis Hunter, he has to package one of them. He can't do both. I don't think it's possible. He is a better wide receiver than he is a better corner. So I would have him as my wide receiver and have him as a backup cornerback. Your cornerback 3, where if one of your starters goes down, you can then step in. And then that way you can utilize him that way. But I mean, the wide receivers, I would say there's no elite coming out. So it feels like reaching for a Keenan Allen, a Stephon Diggs is a move that the Patriots have to make. Because quite frankly, the wide receivers aren't good enough to support a rookie QB or on a rookie deal QB.
If any NFL team brings a player in to play wide receiver and cornerback before they've managed to find a kicker that can also punt, it will blow my mind. I say, if the world can't find someone who can do both those jobs, but they can actually play wide receiver and cornerback, that will completely blow my mind. You want to save on a roster, teach your kicker to punt.
Well, it was
the punt was a holder.
Was it the Jags? Was it the Jags where the kicker got injured and they were having a tryout before the game? He was going to get a field goal, and I was just like, Make the punter do it, man.
Yeah.
He gets paid to kick a ball.
You know the kid that went to the Chiefs that basically lost like 2 or 3 years of his career because of the allegations. He does both. He can punt and kick field goals.
And I know you say he's a holder, but the second string running back should be a holder or something. It's like we're not talking about a difficult job here. Like, come on.
Hey, yeah.
Anyway,
it is. It's all about timing. If the timing's slightly off on those field goals and the extra points, I can attest to when our long snapper was injured. Like, we don't make field goals.
Did you see the Joey Bosa? I'd forgotten about Joey Bosa. Did you see the tweet that went out, or somebody had put something out about Joey Bosa, and they were basically making out like he should have gone to the 49ers, and it's like he took $2.5 million more rather than playing with his brother, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. If my brother had the option to earn $2.5 million more or come and play with me, I'd go and earn $2.5 million more. And it's
I'll see you at Christmas.
I'll see you on Monday for dinner. Like, it doesn't need to be there, but just bizarre.
That's what JJ Watt said on the Pat McAfee show. JJ Watt said he could have gone to the Steelers, but didn't want to take any money from CJ, and that's why he ended up going to the Cardinals instead. The other one that I was trying to think of is Amari Cooper. I know he didn't look great last year, but Amari Cooper's still not a bad receiver. He could do a job somewhere.
Well, it's hard to look good when you don't get used.
Well, yeah, there's that.
I just think Amari Cooper's in the DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen. Like,
I think he's still got a little bit more left in the time.
We're done. Let's bring the next lot of young receivers through.
Yeah, I think with Amari Cooper, because he basically takes every other year off. So I think he's still got. He's got another 6 years in him.
One last thing for me, and this has got nothing to do with anything we just talked about, but you just reminded me, and don't know what you said that reminded me. But since we last recorded, we talked a little bit about new head coaches. The one we hadn't talked about was Kellen Moore, because he obviously was on the Eagles run. Kellen Moore's taken over at the Saints. We don't need to go into any more detail. However, I can't remember what she's called, who runs the Saints. But did you hear when she announced him at the start of the press conference? She referred to him. She called him Ellen Moore. Go back and find it. It's brilliant. I heard it on another podcast, and I was in stitches. It was like, oh, we've got Ellen Moore. I was like, oh, absolutely brilliant. What a great start to his life.
It's 2025. We can't judge anymore.
No, definitely not. Before we finish up, I've got one last thing that I thought would be a bit of fun, and either or, just bringing it back to fantasy, because that's what this show's all about. This is a very early 2025 redraft. I'm going to give you two players. You just got to quickly tell me which one if you had to take one or the other now, which one you'd take. Okay, so we've got 3 quarterbacks, or 3 quarterback debates, 3 running back debates, 3 wide receivers, and 1 tight end. So 10 in total. Quickly run through it. Do you understand? Before I get started, H, do you understand what I mean by quickly run through?
Answer. 1 second answer.
So a quarterback, Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson?
Josh Allen.
Oh, split. Bo Nix or Jordan Love?
Bo Nix.
Okay. And Geno Smith or Justin Fields?
Fields.
Justin Fields.
Okay, so we agree, or you both agree on Fields and Nix. Split on Allen and Jackson, which is to be understood.
That's understandable.
Running back, Bijan or Gibbs?
Gibbs.
No, I'm going Bijan. I'll split it.
How did we both do that? Yeah.
You both got Gibbs and then both changed your mind when you thought about it.
Yeah, Bijan.
I'm going Bijan.
Chuba Hubbard or Kenneth Walker?
Kenneth Walker.
Tank Bigsby or DeAndre Swift?
Oh, Jesus. DeAndre Swift.
I knew you got
DeAndre Swift. I'm still in.
Neither's not an option. They're the only two. They're the only two on the board, and you need a running back to start.
Oh, the trade. I don't think either of them are going to start. I'll go with Swift.
I'd take a second kicker.
I think Ashton Genty's going to the Bears at 10. So, but Bigsby's even worse. So I'll just go Swift and hope I get something off him.
That's the sort of point in a really long draft where you're like, can you flex a kicker?
Yeah.
Moving on to wide receivers, Jefferson or Lamb?
Jefferson.
Lamb.
Brian Thomas or Malik Neighbors?
Thomas,
because he's got a QB.
And Marvin Harrison or Cortland Sutton?
Marvin Harrison.
Cortland Sutton.
I'm in.
Okay. And last but not least, Dalton Kincaid or Travis Kelce?
Kelce.
Is he done?
I've not seen enough. I've not seen enough of Kincaid.
I will go out of my way to not take Kelce, so Kincaid.
Right. Okay. What we'll do is we'll revisit that in about 4 or 5 months. Once we get the draft and everything out of the way, we'll revisit and see if you got the same answers. I'll use the same players and see if we've got the same answers. It's funny how I think opinions change over it. But I just came up with most of those names and I checked it against Fantasy Pros, and they're all like not necessarily next to each other in rankings, but they're pretty close in the same sort of ballpark in rankings. But right, I think we're done.
Right, beautiful. Enjoyed that.
The first pod of the 2025 off season.
Good to be back.
It's been great to catch up. Hopefully, everyone's enjoyed listening to this episode. Have a bit of fun there at the end. Anything you want us to cover in the next few weeks or any feedback, always appreciated. Like, follow, and subscribe to all of our all of our socials and various other outlets. Anything to add, boys, before we say goodbye?
No, I'm good.
Goodbye, and we'll speak to you next time.